It's time for some 3D news. Besides the rapid fire news in this episode, stay tuned to the end as there's a preview of what's to come this season as well as a giveaway. So there's bad news and there's good news. We'll start with the bad news. As many know already, Random Space Media, which was one of the holdouts for the availability of 3D movies on Blu-ray, ceased operations. It was pretty sudden too. They were from Australia, a small company redistributing movies from some major studios, recent releases mostly. We know that there was also that debacle with the release of Sing 2 that was recalled because of the authoring error. And they were planning on continuing business further if possible. They had even made announcements of other physical releases, non-2D, such as upcoming 4K releases. But then all of a sudden they had to make that announcement that they were ceasing operations. But the good news related to that was that another company, RSM was from Australia, another one called Turbine from Germany, I believe. They're also a DVD and Blu-ray distributor, and they made a teasing post on their social media showing some of these 3D movies that RSM had access to, and teasing that they would be bringing that forth in the future. And they also separately hinted that they were also looking towards licensing newer 3D movies, as in ones that RSM hadn't released yet. So Turbine, you might want to follow them on social media and see if anything comes of that in the future. The other negative news was regarding Cyberlink PowerDirector. That's a video editing software, and if you've seen my video in the past, you'll know that's my recommended go-to 3D editing software. To cut to the chase, they do not support 3D anymore. Here's how it went. First of all, there was a bug with MVC. MVC is multi-view codec. It's the type that's used on Blu-ray 3D, as well as a format you can render to. It's not necessary to render to. There's other options like full width side-by-side, which is actually what I typically render in. But MVC files coming from some camcorders, like the one I'm filming with right now, within the last year or two, before 3D was removed functionally, MVC would not be decoded properly. You'd put it in anaglyph preview, and what it would do would just show one eye, so 2D basically, but delay it. So you'd kind of like some cheap conversion software uses something similar to the Pulfric effect. So that's what it would do. It wouldn't show the true 3D video. But you could still edit properly with side-by-side files, Blu-ray authoring, all of that. It was just that one MVC decoding bug. And one of my viewers online also was trying out Cyberlink, and they had the same exact issue, so it wasn't just me. So anyway, I opened a support ticket with Cyberlink, and on November 23rd, 2023, this was their reply. They said, "We understand that the MVC 3D video format does not work correctly with PowerDirector 365. Please be advised that in the past few years, the usage rate of the 3D video editing and production and the required technical support from related software and hardware companies have gradually declined or directly ceased. Because of this, we have decided to remove the 3D video editing and production in PowerDirector as of November 2023. Now, this is interesting. I don't know if it was just timed perfectly or what, because 3D hadn't been removed yet. This was, like I said, that one MVC bug that was already present for the last year or two in just those latest versions. And I mainly used an older version, a hard copy of PowerDirector. That's still my main go-to version, and that doesn't have the problem. And after that conversation, I updated to the very latest version, the absolute live subscription version, and I replied, "I have the latest updates of 365, and 3D is still fully supported for all aspects of editing, from advanced features to disk authoring. It's just this one specific codec issue." And they replied, "In the latest version, the entire 3D video settings have ceased." After reconfirmation from the product team, supposedly in the advanced editing page, export page, etc., there are no longer 3D settings features. If you would still like to make sure the 3D videos work properly, you may edit them with PowerDirector 15. So when they say the latest version, it definitely wasn't the latest released version. And that was also true for the next month after that. But sure enough, about a month later, the update removed 3D editing from the main editing area. You could still use 3D files, but they would only be seen as 2D. And interestingly, 3D Blu-ray authoring was not removed. So if you just need an authoring solution, at least for now, currently as I'm filming this, it still does that. But you'd have to have those video files edited elsewhere if you use another program, for instance, that doesn't, because there are many video editing programs that do not do true Blu-ray 3D authoring. Most of them might say they do, or at least sound like they say they do, but all they do is burn side-by-side files to a Blu-ray disc, which is effectively a 2D disc. That's how it stands with PowerDirector, but still, if you want to get an older version, it still works great. Get a hard copy of, obviously. This is still my recommended best features, best full functionality from scratch to disk, and the most easily accessible. If you want to watch an in-depth video showing how to use that software, you can search for that video. At the Consumer Electronics Show, Canon, who had released a sort of a VR 180 lens attachment for their cameras, it's really overpriced. But anyway, it is of interest that Canon did show some prototypes at CES for some new 3D lenses, a couple of VR 180 ones, but also one that was marked as stereoscopic. And it's a lens we've seen before, like from Panasonic. I don't know how much better this will be, if it like allows more light or something, or if it doesn't have distortion. It's hard to tell until you actually see it in person, or see the results in person, rather. And Proma, who made the King 3D tablet, they released a new 3D tablet called the Master Plus 2024, glasses-free 3D. What's interesting about it is that it has the ability to view 3D in portrait and landscape, kind of like the old HTC Evo 3D phone did many years ago. Now, unfortunately, I think the market for this is kind of passed by. They're charging $739 for it. It has a 2D camera, nowhere near as the smooth interface or compatibility that Leia has, and their price has dropped recently for the Lume Pad 2. There's the only unique thing I can see is the portrait and landscape in 3D, but otherwise the Lume Pad 2 would be better in every way. The resolution problem is solved, eye tracking. So, and then speaking of Leia, who makes the Lume Pad, they also made a tease about an upcoming phone. They're projecting that perhaps by the end of the year, they might have one in the Asian market. So it's still not near future, and still not potentially for the United States or other markets. But at least it shows they are working on a 3D phone. And they said the screen resolution would be 1440p, so improved resolution. And speaking of phones, we all know some of the biggest news was from Apple. Yes, there is a new 3D camera phone available, the iPhone 15 Pro. And along with that, closely related to that, was the Apple Vision Pro, the 3D headset. And there's a lot more to say about that. You're going to want to stay tuned. Subscribe, stay tuned, because we're going to be going more in-depth into both of those subjects, as well as other 3D cameras that we had that have been on the back burner that we really want to get into really interesting different types of 3D cameras with field test, as well as movie reviews. Another unique review that was actually about a year in the making, longer than a year, and more. So we've got some very interesting stuff coming up this season. And speaking of this season, did you notice anything different I mean, you might think of different things here and there, but did you notice anything different about the way I'm making this episode? If you get the right thing that I'm thinking of, comment below. And I'm actually not sure if anybody will get it. Maybe somebody will. But it has to be the exact thing that I'm thinking of about a new way I'm making the show this season and on into the future. So, give your best guess. And stay tuned because some really neat stuff is coming up very soon. See you next time.